Hey everybody, so my plan here is to solve quadratic equations by factoring. Now if you look, the very front number is not 1, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm just going to think through my a equals 2, b equals 13, and c equals -7. Now that's helpful if I'm going to use the quadratic formula, and if I can't factor this, then I'll go there. So right now I'm just kind of thinking about it, but do you see right here that the a is 2, so it's bigger than 1, so that means if I choose to factor over here, it's going to look a little bit different. So a quick reminder of what factoring looks like, and then I want you to pause the video and try to factor it and see if you agree with what I come up with. So I'm going to break this down. Remember, this is kind of where I put the smiley face, so I'll give you a bunch of room to work. So pull apart the front, pull apart the back, and see what you come up with. So push pause, come back. Alright, I know that my options, what gives me 2x squared? 1x and 2x. And then what gives me -7? Well, it's going to be 1 and 7, and then one of them is going to be negative because, so it's either -1 and +7 or +1 and -7. So I haven't really said it that way before, but maybe that will help some of you if it's not clicking right. Okay, so really what happens, I need to multiply something here, and then when I add them together, they're going to give me +13. So is it going to be -1 and +7 or +1 and -7? Well, I think that the 13 has to be positive, so I'm going to go here. I think that the 7 is going to have to dominate, and I want that 7 to multiply by the 2. So +7, -1. Is that right? Because that gives me +14x and -1x. When I put those together, do they give me 13? You bet they do. Now, I am actually going to erase this at this point because sometimes some of you try to put that into your equation, and that's not the part that goes into the equation. What I want is the 1x, and that's going to go with the 7, first and first, and then second and second. So I get x plus 7 times 2x minus 1 equals 0. So now I factored it, which is awesome, but that's not my end game. My end game is to figure out, okay, what do I have to substitute in for this x that would make all of this equal to 0? And so if I'm going to do that, well, then I know that x plus 7 equals 0. What does x have to be? Has to be x equals -7. So there's my one solution. But then there's a solution over here. Now, I hope that you've seen that the sign is always opposite. So whatever this is, x is going to be positive something because it's a -1. However, it is not +1. So my goal is to figure out, okay, this guy right here, what does this x have to be in order to make that whole thing 0? So I can write 2x minus 1 equals 0. And then just solve it. So what do I undo first, the 2 or the -1? Go way back to 7th grade, 6th grade, undo the -1 by adding 1. So I get 2x equals 1. Now I am not done yet. The answer isn't +1. I have to divide by that 2. So my answer is +1/2. So I get x equals -7 and x equals 1/2. Now there's a pattern of that 1/2. Whenever this number is not 1, it ends up making a fraction. Alright, try another one. If you want to just pause the video right here and try it on your own, great. Otherwise, I'm going to factor it through and you can kind of skip ahead, go backwards, whatever helps. Alright, so I know my a is greater than 1. I think it's going to factor. If it doesn't, I could always quadratic formula it. but I want to try factoring first because factoring generally actually is easier if possible. So there's only one way to get 3x squared, 1x and 3x. Then 15, I can do 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Now look at, I've got a positive and a positive. So what do I know about the signs? Yeah, they're all going to be positive, which makes my heart very happy. Okay, I want to get 14 in the middle. So what am I going to do? Are 1 and 15 going to work? No. How about 5 and 3? Let's see if that works. 3x times 5 is 15x. And 1x times 3 is 3x. Does that give me 14? Ah, darn it. All right. Well, hopefully you saw that right away. But if you didn't, that's all right. Sometimes we make mistakes. That's what makes your brain grow, and it's all good. We just fix it. So I got to erase this. I still think it's the 3 and the 5, but I must have done them in the wrong order. What do you think? If I put 3, that's not right. 3 here and 5 here, will that work? Well, now 3x times 3 is 9x. 1x times 5 is 5x. Does that give me 14? Yes, it does. Okay, good. So what that means is in my solution, I'm going to have this one and this one, this one and this one. So I'm actually going to erase this work. I don't really want you to erase the work unless you make the mistake that you put that work into your final solution. So let's see. My solution is x plus 3 and 3x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, so I've got to take and make this one. What is x? So x plus 3 equals 0. Set that equal to 0. What makes that whole thing equal to 0? Well, if it's positive here, my solution is going to be x equals negative 3. Right, but the second one, it is not x equals negative 5. I know that negative 5 is going to be in the answer, but that's not it. My solution is going to be x equals negative 5 over 3. Do you see where the negative 5 comes from? The negative 5 is right here. But you're like, but it's positive. Yeah, but how do I undo the positive? I minus it. And then the 3 comes from right there. So if I were to write it out, 3x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract the 5. So I get 3x equals negative 5, and then I divide by 3. Divide by 3, x equals 5/3. All right, keep working on these. I know you can do it. Hopefully, it might not be as simple yet, but it's hopefully a lot easier than it was when we started factoring these in September. So, you're going to factor, and then you're going to solve.